Hey guys, J-Bot again with the second part of our Minefield battle report. We are continuing on from the end of the first video, and we are beginning the movement of the Imperial side, or actually the movement of everybody. It just so happens that most of the Imperials go first before the players do, just based on pilot skill 1s and 2s. And of course players all start at pilot skill 2. The only pilot skill 3s on the table right now are Jim's X-Wing. He is at the very top corner on the right hand side over here with the stress marker next to him. And the Elite TIE Bomber, which is down here right next to the Y-Wing on the left-hand side middle table. We can see that there's a little bit of, all these ships are independent now. They're not flying as a group. So they're starting to move independently, which gives players, believe it or not, a little bit better chance to get around, because one ship might make a really smart move, but it's rare that all of them do in one shot. The great thing here is, because they go first and we have some rough anticipation of what they're going to do, we're able to judge and get around them. So here we see the Y-Wing in the middle is doing just as much as he can. He can't really do too much because Y-Wings aren't very maneuverable. Plus he's down to one hull point and he is surrounded by cluster mines. So he's in a really tough spot. There's not very many places he can go. Up here just a second ago, we saw one of the X-Wings just gun it and go through the template. It was down to one hull point on the template, so it wasn't a huge risk him doing that. And we actually start doing that more often now. We had to throw caution to the wind because we were running out of turns, and there were still a huge number of templates left on the table. And in order to win this, to successfully finish this mission, we have to destroy enough cluster mines, enough of these mine templates to get us down to 5. So here we are, kind of continuing the turn. It's now the bomber's turn, the elite bomber. Everybody on this side of the table's moved. Jim will move last, I believe. And this move by the bomber is actually just what you would want if you're a player. This perfect, side in, range 1, couldn't really get much closer if you tried, turn. And there are people who have never played HotAC that give it a hard time and say, oh, it's just a automated computer, roughly idea computer program for these things. There's no way it can be really effective. And it is. Anybody who's played this can see that it can do very, very smart things. And it typically does those things when either you least expect it or when you just need it to roll something different. It just seems to always work out. So here we are in the firing phase. Jim is firing into this, into the bomber down here. It's the last one on the table. He's trying his best to kill it. It's range 3, so it's a bit of a tough shot, even against the bombers, which aren't as agile as they could be. But he's able to do a little bit more damage, but it's still on the table. I am conveniently, that's my blue X-Wing there, I'm conveniently out of its arc, so it's going to eventually fire back at Jim. I have pretty much settled on Mine Slayer duty. We see here the TIE Bomber did eventually take out that Y-Wing. It was in a really, really bad spot, and there's not much that could be done for it. And you see, I'm in the middle of the table. I'm kind of in a bad location. I'm right up on a bunch of mine templates. I don't have a lot of places I can go, so I am just square on blowing up mines right now. Just focus on the mission, and hopefully we can survive, because we don't have to clear the table of Imperials. We just have to get those mine templates down to 5 or less. Here on the left-hand side of the table, you see a lot of firing. That X-Wing is doing its best to try and, I believe he's trying to focus on the TIE Fighter at the moment. We are still kind of, split between whether we want to shoot at TIE Fighters or shoot at the mines. We feel like we got enough time to get by, but we have to kill some of these ships. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck fighting them forever. So the TLT Y-Wing was finally able to cut through and kill one of those TIE Fighters that's been hounding it the whole game, so that's great. We see Jason there. He's actually shooting at one of the templates, and he did not do a great job of it. He's there at range 1, and I don't believe he did a single point of damage to it. I think this is me rolling now for the template that's right in front of me. I have my little Ewok token on it, and I was able to destroy it at range 1. So I am continuing my mission of focusing on these tokens, but now here we are in the movement phase, and this is where it becomes a nightmare for me. We could see the TIE Fighters are starting to swarm again. They're starting to turn back around and face the Y-Wing. They're going to swoop in. And here's the nightmare. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner, if you notice, 4 TIE Fighters. A whole wing of them pop in, and guess whose tail they're on? They're right on my tail. I am down to 1 hull point at this point. I know you can't see it on the table. But my X-Wing is down to 1 hull point, and I am in bad shape because now I've got a bomber. He's going to key on me. He's going to move based on where I'm at. These TIE fighters are all going to move based on where I'm at, and you can see Jim reshuffling them to get the numbers in the right places. All 4 of those TIE fighters are going to move based on me, and the bomber is going to move based on me, and the elite bomber is going to move based on me. And there's a little nudge by Jim, but it didn't have any effect on this. Didn't really make a change. That was me poking fun at him again. I like to do that. I think most of us enjoy picking on Jim for that. But that's just become kind of our internal comedy. But you can see I got 4 TIE fighters right on my butt. Yeah, I haven't moved, but I can't move very far because I'm stuck. I've got a cluster mine to my left, and I've got one straight in front of me, so there's not very far I can go. And I knew this, so I set my turn up here with the goal of one thing: destroy mines. I got to stick to the game plan. I'm lucky because he wasn't able to turn because he would have bumped that bomber there. So I actually did get one of these guys not able to fire at me. And Jim's going to move in with his guy to try and help. But you can see I'm slow rolling now just to make sure I get as many shots as possible. I knew I was going to be the focus of this. Jim kind of knew I was going to be the focus of it. So there I am throwing one of my Scootaloo focus tokens down. You can see it next to the gigantic target lock that I have on me. One of our other X-Wing players here is turning around now. He is still in the middle here, and I believe we're still focusing with these guys on tokens. Jason there, he's doing a K-turn. He ran across that cluster mine. He took my advice on this. It was a bad example. I was like, come on, man, it's a cluster mine. You can't hit with everything. He got hit with everything. So he was a full ship, and he got blasted down. I think at least one of those was a crit. He got blasted all the way down to 1 or 2 hull points as well. So he went from absolutely full, untouched ship down to just a couple hull points. And, of course, he gave me the look he always gives me when I give him bad advice, which is often. So, he did what he was supposed to. He got rid of one of the mine templates, and you can see they're starting to dwindle a little bit. We're starting to get close to that to the number we're after, which is 5 or less. Unfortunately, I'm in a bad sort. I've got an elite bomber on me there in the center. I've got 4 TIE fighters on me there. At least one of them's got a range 1 shot. I've got 5 attacks coming my direction, and the only chance I have here is that one measly little focus token. So I've got a range 1 bomber there on my flank, 4 TIE fighters on my back, and Jim's going to scoot up just a little bit. He definitely doesn't want to get close enough to be shot at by those TIE fighters. And I'm telling Jim's like, you got to help me out. You got to help me out. At least kill the bomber. That way we know for sure they're not going to be dropping more bombs. And we'll have a chance to continue to fight back. Jim attacks. He does his damage. And I don't know. I can't remember if he killed him. We'll see if he takes him off the board or not. Obviously, he did not kill it. So he forgot to drop the mine there from behind it. And now we're fighting. Oh, he did kill it. I'm sorry. He did actually kill that one. It's been a few weeks, so it's hard for me to remember. But yes, Jim did successfully kill that bomber, which is great. It won't fire back at him. You'll see a little bit of token cleanup here as we go. Now the TIE fighter firing into my flank. I'm sorry, the TIE bomber firing into my flank. It's got a target lock. He is lighting me up. And I told them, I said, I got this, guys. I got this. I'm the one that has the worst dice at the table. They are rolling like crazy. To do what they can against me. That was my shots there. The bomber's already missed, believe it or not. That bomber has already missed me. He actually hit with everything I was able to avoid with everything. Actually, I don't think he hit with everything. He hit with just a couple of them, but wasn't able to successfully add up to it. So now we're going through all the TIE fighters. And yes, boom, next turn. I know it's hard to believe, and I know I jumped through it, and it was really fast. But yes, somehow, by a miracle, I survived every single one of those attacks. I thought it would be great to actually show that in real time, but it took so long. There was so much celebrating and fist pumping that I couldn't fit it all in the video. But yes, by some miracle, I actually survived with my X-Wing against 5 shots at close range from all these TIE fighters. And no, it wasn't bad rolling on everybody's part. It was amazing rolling on my side. I really should not have survived that, but for once in a miracle, I actually did survive. So here we are on the next turn after beating my chest a little bit. The goal is still there. Still trying to get rid of these templates. You can see quite a few of them are actually a couple of them are wounded. We've taken out the bomber, so none of them can be dropped anymore because the elite is not able to drop them. We are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. Doesn't seem like we've done a lot of damage, but we've got 2 of them hurt, and we're in position to continue hitting more because Jim can just follow through with his and start taking out these mines on the bottom right-hand corner. We've got a Y-wing up top who's going to be focusing with his TLT on what he can see here, and we've got an X-wing there on the bottom, or kind of in the middle left, who's going to be sweeping through as well. We have gone full bore at this point. We've made the decision. The only way we can win this is to focus squarely on those mines and try and get out of it that way. That if we spend too much time focusing on the other ships, on the Imperial ships, we're just not going to have enough time to get the mission done. So we are now kind of caution to the wind. It doesn't matter if we need to fly through the templates. We fly through the templates. It doesn't matter. We have to get it. We're down to just a few more turns. So you can see the retargeting the bombers and stuff. Of course, I sweep around. Somehow, after surviving last turn, I was able to not only survive but escape all of the arcs from all the guys. You saw them throwing the laser down just to see, and I was able to make it and escape out. So I got another turn. I'm able to start helping the team out on our side of the table, doing some damage. There you see me actually using my target lock on the bomber, on that elite bomber, because I can adjust his dice. I can actually help to adjust his dice a little bit because he's going to fire at Jim, and anything we can do to help Jim is good. So here we see the Y-wing turning back in on the left-hand side. The X-wing's going to do the same. He's going to try and move through a little bit. I can't remember. Let's see if he flies through the template. Yeah, he did. He took the risk. We're at that point. We need to fly through the template. We need to get him to get as many shots as he can on as many of these templates as possible for us to have a chance to win this game. So, but luckily, through all of our shenanigans, somehow we've lost one Y-wing. We've got a lot of crippled ships. A lot of people are down to 1 or 2 hull points on the table, and there's still a ton of Imperials. And yet now we're starting to come together as a team. We've actually got a focused plan now. We're a little scattered, but we're playing defense, really. We're flying around things, trying to just avoid arcs, play arc dodger game with X-wings, and do damage to the other ships. So here we see the firing phase. Jim's going to start. Actually, this is the movement phase for that bomber. We're trying to figure out here exactly what's going on. Sometimes you get into a little weird locations where you're right on the edge of that range 2 bracket. And is it approaching you or is it going away from you? That's one of the decisions that determines which portion of the movement kind of array that you have there. And so Jim gets lucky here based on the roll. The bomber's doing a 5K. So pretty much anything Jim does is going to keep him out of range or out of arc of that ship. So Jim is planning on going after those the templates down there in the corner. So he has thrown up his hands and said, forget it, I don't care about shooting these ships down. They're not worth it to us anymore. And so he jumps them. With the great move, he's only going to end up with 1 TIE fighter, that one that's on the upper left of that little group of 4. It's going to be the only one that can actually shoot at him this turn. So he was able to do that, fire in at the template here. And he's using one of his rerolls from the target lock, and he's actually able to completely kill that one in 1 turn, which is great. That's one of the things these X-wings are good at. People, including myself, forget about how powerful they can be in close-range fights when they're not fighting against kind of silly, overpowered, or crazy arc-dodging ships. They're pretty powerful just in a straight-up fist fight. So we see the continued movement. The firing is really continuing here. I think we're determining what to do with our TLT friend here on the Y-wing, what the best option was for him. He is decided to just kind of plink away at damage. He can't kill any of these with his TLT, so it becomes a matter of like what's best for that Y-wing to do. Should he destroy the close-in guy or the long-range one? And he goes for that one, does his damage, and I don't remember who shot that one, but either way, we're trying to focus here. The TLT can't kill one by itself because it can only do 2 damage total, and because of everybody's same pilot skill, we can determine who shoots first and let us make our decision. So he was able to, between him and I think that's Jason's X-wing there right above my blue one, they were able to destroy that one. So you can see, just like that, 1 turn we were able to take out, it looks like 4 of these in 1 turn. So we did a We went from 10 down to 6 just like that because we had one ship fly through, we had Jim destroy one in one shot, and we had 3 other ships focus their attacks and balance their attacks in the right way to take out 2 templates. So in one turn we took out 4. So now we just need to kill or destroy one more template to succeed in this mission and then survive until the number of turns runs out. And the great thing is because of that decision and just to kind of ignore the Imperial ships, we're actually in a really good position. He's got 3 TIE fighters, Jim does, right behind him that are pointed the wrong direction to fight him, to shoot at him. So they're going to end up going after Jason. The Punisher, or the elite bomber there, is going to have to go after Jason. And there's such a far move, and we know this, that if we plan right, they'll stay out of the way. They won't have a real chance to do any damage to us this turn. We can actually plan ahead. And they're doing some debating now about who is closest in arc and all that good stuff. So these do actually turn around. I don't think they're all independent yet, but they might be. And this is one of the kind of the parts of HotAC that can get a little troublesome when you have so many ships. And a lot of times there are more ships on the table, especially in a 6-man game, than you'll ever see in a standard 106 game, and that can get a little bit kind of claustrophobic. It gets a little bit tough as you're flying ships around, especially the Imperial ships. And you can see we're all off kilter just from picking these up, moving around, picking them up, moving around. You can see how hard it is to keep them all in line. But that's the great thing about casual. We all realize this. We all realize that that there's no reason to take this so seriously that you're getting bent out of shape by someone nudging a ship here or there. We pick on Jim for it, but that's just something we've been doing since he first started playing. And now they are actually separate ships, so they're trying to determine what would they do. Would they turn right? Would they turn left with a ship that's in a given position? And it really is up to the player on some of these which way they would go. And here we are. We can see they're starting to scatter now. The TIE fighters are. They're not in a cohesive unit, which has given us a bit of an opportunity to jump around them and get better shots in. They're in really bad spots over here on the left-hand side. They can't really get anybody lined up. And because they move first, they give us a chance to continue our attack. So I'm moving in with the goal of destroying one of these templates over here on our side. We're trying to get down to 5, so we just need to get rid of one more template. There's one you can see. Actually, I think we already got it. There's one down here at the bottom of the screen. That's not actually real. That was one that was slid off and didn't get taken. So I must have missed the other one disappearing. I apologize for that. So we're actually down to our goal. We're at 5, which is where we needed to be, if I'm counting right. So we're actually at 5, which is great because we succeeded in the mission. Now it's just a matter of surviving, flying away and surviving. And what's happening now is the rest of the team, I'm down to 1 hull point, so I'm trying my best to stay alive. And I pretty much stay out of the fight the rest of the fight for fear of just that one lucky shot getting through. And I feel at this point like I've spent all of my luck on that one turn surviving against 5 ships. So I am kind of loath to actually get into any more fighting. So I've just decided on my side to just run and do damage. Here we see Jim turning around. He's K-turning to come back into the fight. Now that we're down to 5 templates, we don't have to worry about the mission anymore. It is just about surviving and doing what we can to destroy these ships. So now he basically is going face up with that bomber. He and the bomber are going to go face up for a turn, maybe 2 turns, hoping to, trying to get rid of that bomber so that it will not do any more damage to the rest of the team. But he's in a bad spot because he's got a bomber, and I do believe it is loaded with cluster missiles, which are quite ugly. It's hard to see, but he rolled a hit, a focus, and a blank. So he actually did 2 hits with that focus. And to Jim, so Jim's going to have to roll against those 2 hits. I wish I could tell you what his hull points were down to. I think he is still at full shields. He might not have been touched yet, but it's hard for me to tell. Eventually he'll roll. We just see him. Oh, look, there's a whole bunch of dice there now. There it is. Looks like evading a focus. So he takes one. There went both of his shields. You saw him take them off and the damage. So he is down to just 2 whole points left floating down there, and he's double stressed. So it must not. I think the stress is from a crit that he took, which is that one that he turned face down. It was take a stress and turn this card face down. So now he's double stressed, and he gets to fire back at that guy. And he actually did a crit. And guess what? Same crit. Take a stress, turn it face down. So that bomber has taken, at the end of this turn between him and the other X-Wing that's there, took a couple points of damage and a stress. So they are going to be, again, another turn jousting, just straight in front of each other, flying straight in each other's faces with the hopes of one of them coming out alive. You see on this side, the TIE fighters are kind of in a bad spot. In a way, they've gotten out of the fight. They don't have a clear focus, a clear ship to kind of follow. But Jason over here on the right-hand side, the upper right-hand side, is square in the guns of these TIE fighters. He is right in the mix of 4 of them, or I should say 3 of them, because one of them is going to continue up the table here. He saw the one he just pointed at. It's actually going to continue up the table towards Jim and this other X-Wing. Nice little bump there, Jim. So Jason's got 3 of them. And unfortunately, the 2 that are kind of there at the top of the screen, he's the closest model. So over the next turn or so, they're going to be going towards him. So all of these ships are keyed on Jason 100%. And unfortunately, he's down to 1 or 2 hull points. And that is, he's in the same spot now that I was in earlier, where he's got multiple ships kind of, pulling in on him. And he doesn't really have a good way to fight them off. So Jim had turned around last turn. Our other X-Wing here in the middle of the table had turned in, and the Y-Wing's going to start turning as well to come back and try and help him, to just try and peel off some of those ships and help out as best we can. Unfortunately, it's just a tough hill to climb there, because they're a long way away from where the rest of us are, and it takes us a few turns, whether it's K turns or sharp 2s and 3s. It takes a long time to get turned back around to help somebody. I mean, that's almost the entire width of the table by the time I would turn around here on the left-hand side. And Jim is almost the same. He's almost in full width of the table away. Although he hasn't moved this turn, he can't do too much because he's double stressed. So there's me throwing my focus down. I'm still trying my best to do some damage, not doing a great job over here on the left-hand side, taking out mines. They're worth 1 experience if you blow one up. So that's all I was doing right there was just trying to add to my kill streak on mines for the game. I still do have my target lock token on that bomber, so that's what's going on there. It's helping Jim out just a little bit, because every time that bomber attacks, we are able to make it re-roll one of its dice once. So here we get lucky. The 2 of them actually bump square into each other and prevent themselves from doing any damage. Which is good. It was actually wonderful that happened there. So Jim's able to fire in. The bomber has no shot. Jim's able to fire into this TIE fighter here square on the side of that Y-Wing. It looks like he didn't do very much damage. He had a hit and a focus, it looks like. And he's able to convert that focus with his astromech into an evade token. So that's what he did there. The bomber is firing. Jim's over there hitting his firing button. We have a focus, which forgot on the Y-Wing. And he was shooting. It looks like he was shooting in at the TIE bomber there. So he's got that TLT. He's working, trying his best to do some more damage to it. He's only able to do a couple hits on it. So that was all it took, though. The bomber was down pretty heavily from all the kind of concentrated fire from all those ships there. So between the TLT, Jim's last turn, and the X-Wing that was there right above him, they were finally able to take out that elite bomber, which is a huge help, because as much as crazy as it seems, it is a dangerous foe up there. And finally, I'm able to add another mine to the kill streak for me. At some point, I need to go back through this and see how many I killed, but I think it was 6 or 7, might have been more for my ship in this game. So here we're back to the next turn. You can see Jason moved. He did survive the 1 or 2 shots that he took last turn. But he is still hurt. He is down to no more than 1 or 2 hull points, and he's going to have 5 ships screaming in on him. Actually, it looks like that one didn't go. I thought he was coming that way. That was just a weird roll by it. But he's going to end up with the 4 ships, 4 TIE fighters kind of squaring on him. And there's not much table. Unfortunately, I cut the edge of the table off there with my crappy camera skills. But there's not much table left there for him to run to. I don't believe we thought about running him off the table. It's either that or he just didn't have the room to get off the table. I know certain missions don't allow you to do that. And so that might have been what happened here, is that he was not allowed to do that without just exploding. Some missions allow you to run off the table edge. Other missions force you to use like a jump to hyperspace set of rules. And this is a little bit of back and forth between us as players, trying to figure out exactly which quadrant of the template to use, which is tough. It can be tough. There's a lot of times where that template line, the separators on the templates, if you're familiar with HotAC, it runs right down the middle. Like whatever your target ship will run right down the middle, one of those lines, and it's tough to say which one is which. So we tend to go with a corner unless it's very obviously in the front or back arc. That's how our kind of rule of thumb is if it's not very obviously in the front arc, if it's really close, we just go with one of the corner arcs. And that's just kind of a house rule, a table rule that we've just gotten used to using because it's too difficult over long distances as it is right now. Although there are some companies out there, and I wish I could remember their names, that create templates for this that you can put on your ship to show you the HotAC arcs, and using those you can actually run a laser off of them to find exactly where they're supposed to be. So we don't have any of those, unfortunately, so we just go with that general rule. Here we are the rest of this turn. I turned in, was not expecting this TIE fighter. I was like, I'll just come back in and kill off one of these mines for a little XP, extra XP. And I believe this is the very last turn. So at this point, there's not a lot that we can do. Our ships are so far away, they can barely help Jason. They have to get every single one of their shots to hit one of those TIE fighters and have the TIE fighter blank out its dice in order to succeed. Unfortunately, that's just not happening for us. We can maybe get some XP just from doing damage. But here, I made a bad mistake. I came back in not expecting that TIE fighter. He gets a long distance shot on me at 3 dice, and of course he hit, or 2 dice, and of course he hits. Even with my reroll, of course he hits. And I have nothing to help me out on my side. But my luck held out on this day, and I was able to evade everything. And unfortunately, we can't see this, but Jason's got all of those ships from last turn on him. I believe it's 4 of them. And I'm telling him, I'm there in his corner rooting him on. I was like, I did it like 3 turns ago. You can do this. You can do this. I wish I could have showed you the rolls. I wish we could have had this on TV, on the screen. But through all of this, and we're making him roll these onto the table. Through all of this, he survives this too. He has 4 ships on him. He's down to 1 to 2 hull points. I think he was at 2 hull points when the whole thing started. And he blanked at least 1 or 2 of them. But he actually survived that volley of fire from those TIE fighters, and that one should end the game. We somehow, both Jason and I, survived through the mission, and were able to pull in all the XP that we had. So we successfully completed the mission. We successfully survived, all of us except for 1 Y-Wing. So we walked away from this one with a ton of XP. I know it was kind of scatterbrained. I know it was kind of all over the place, but I hope you guys will come back to watch the next one. Thanks for listening.